being a teacher, a mentor, and a guide. 2.5 decades of blissful experience in the field of school education. You have become a blessing for education sector in Kerala.
As a student, I never ever dreamt that I would be a teacher. It so happened that while I was doing my graduation is when I did get this offer of being a teacher at the kindergarten level. My dad is my motivating factor all the time. He was the one who asked me, I think you give it a shot rather than simply sitting at home. This is something which you would enjoy. So that's how I got into teaching. And I must say that from that day, there's absolutely no looking back, because I enjoyed every minute being a teacher, every minute being with children. That gives you a lot of energy, that makes you up to date with things. And when you're all the time with young children, that makes you active and lively as well.
Dealing with young minds and building personal connect with them has always been a passion for Madam Sunitha Satheesh. The love for educating and molding young generation kept her active and dynamic. She enjoyed teaching being a stress buster. Her shoulder has supported many children at the most critical time in their life. She continues to be happy as a teacher and later as a vice principal and principal for 24 years. Madam Sunitha Satheesh joined the Choice School Kochi in the year 1996. The Choice School is a co-ed school housing 3,000 students from play school to grade 12. Today, Ma'am is the principal of Good Shepherd School, which is one of the leading schools with huge number of students. As the principal, Madam Sunitha Satheesh is taking the school to next level and dimension by designing the minds of the students. The school is lucky to have such a great leadership. Her leadership model is very unique. Ma'am is a team builder and a captain with lots of differences. She has given importance in maintaining high quality and standards in academics, activities, sports, value system, and overall the well-being of a child. Madam, with 2.5 decades of blissful experience in the field of school education, you have become a blessing for education sector in Kerala. Kindly tell us briefly about your journey being a teacher, a mentor, and a guide.
Thank you for that elaborate description, I must say. It's nice to hear, because it takes you like going back 27 years. It was in I think in 5 minutes, I did get a glimpse of my past 27 years in a nutshell. How did this all happen? Or rather, my journey is what you actually asked. Getting into teaching was definitely something by default, I must say. Not that I was, as a student, I never ever dreamt that I would be a teacher. It so happened that while I was doing my graduation is when I did get this offer of being a teacher at the kindergarten level. My dad is my motivating factor all the time. He was the one who asked me, I think you give it a shot rather than simply sitting at home. This is something which you would enjoy. So that's how I got into teaching. And I must say that from that day, there's absolutely no looking back, because I enjoyed every minute being a teacher, every minute being with children. That gives you a lot of energy, that makes you up to date with things. And when you're all the time with young children, that makes you active and lively as well. So it's around 27 years back, I joined as a kindergarten teacher. Once I joined, and as I started enjoying the job that I did, it was no more a job. It was like a routine and something which I really enjoyed day to day, because there was learning every day. That's what I understood in this, because something which I learned today is different from something which I learned tomorrow. And even at the end of 27 years, there's something I learn every day, because you're dealing with different set of parents, you're dealing with different set of students, you're dealing with different set of teachers, and the requirement never is the same. So it's irrespective of the number of years of rich experience you have, there is learning every day. So I started getting interested and involved in that. And slowly from kindergarten, I moved as a primary teacher. From there to the middle school, high school, +2 level, coordinator, vice principal, and later the principal of the school. As rightly mentioned by you, I joined the Choice School first as a teacher, and I did complete the entire cycle, as you mentioned, the complete ladder from a kindergarten teacher to being the head of the institution. And at the end of 25th year is when I decided, both my kids also were there with me at that school, after which when my younger son also graduated, I thought that it is important that I spread my wings and I see that I'm able to touch more people, because education is something where, you become richer when you're able to go and get that kind of a feel and impact in a larger society, to a larger community, rather than staying within, the four walls of your, comfort zone. So that's when I moved on from there, and I decided to start a kindergarten venture of my own. So that's where, the entrepreneur in me started thinking, why not I do something on my own and see that I am able to spread the concept of kindergarten education to larger number of students. Why kindergarten? Because that's where I started my career. And I feel grassroots is one very, very important place where you instill something, as young children. That's the age where you need to mold them, and you give it right at that initial stages of kindergarten and early primary phases, then they are sort of done and set in life. So that's how I moved on, thinking of having, kindergartens of my own. And alongside, I did not want to lose touch with the main school system, which I've always been part of. And that's how I'm connected. And I'm the principal of Good Shepherd Public School, Kottayam district right now. And the management and teachers here are extremely good. And I had a very, very warm welcome with the rich experience I had. And it's a huge school with 4,000 students, and great experience, I must say. But there is difference and there is learning, as I told you, even today, because though I have completed close to 27 years as a teacher, vice principal, and principal, even today, if you ask me, it's a different enriching experience that I've got. And education also has changed from what it was then. The student community has also changed. If you ask me, the kind of students I dealt with 20 years back, they're not the same kind of students I'm dealing with today. Neither are the parents same. Neither is the administration role that you do the same. So all this has, really been a good experience, something good. And I look forward to, the next day of challenges which wait for me, because never is a day when I can say that yesterday was just the same like today. So that's my 27 years of, journey. And one thing which I always try to do, or which I keep it as my trademark, is I like to see things in a different way, or rather I like to do things in a different way, because I'm not a person who, something I always ask, people around me. I'm sure none of you like to eat the same breakfast or the lunch every day. You like to have difference. You like to get different taste, different flavor, and that's the essence and the spice of life. So that's one thing which I try to maintain in all the activities that I do. What I do yesterday would not be what I do tomorrow. I always try to keep the change, because change is absolutely needed in today's world. And it's only if you can think with a change, only if you can think in a creative way, and keep abreast with things that's happening, can you finally be catching the attention of today's young generation, because they are seeing the world in a very, very different perspective. So if you sit with your age old one and only concept, you're not going to reach, or you may not have any place in the hearts of the new generation, which is the team that we are dealing with. So I keep it a point always to see that there is some kind of a change that is brought in, which would, so everybody should wonder, oh, what next? Or what next? That kind of a that kind of a spark I try to create all the time. And I think that is something which has helped me to be unique in my own ways, and which is something which has been appreciated by people in the education field, people who are, who has years of experience, who are so-called the legends in the education industry. They've always, accepted and given that positive stroke on the thoughts and the ideas that always I try to bring in, which is the creativity in a different way. One such thing which I have to mention is during the COVID time, when it was probably online schooling and very less kind of activity in most regions or in most schools, which I know. I think Good Shepherd Public School was one school which tried our best to make children not miss any of the on-campus activity which they otherwise do. So right from, having a student council election and e-election to group discussion to things, whatever is possible on the e-platform, we did it to ensure that, they get the feel of the real campus. All possible activities, including inter-school competitions, which we otherwise host when it is an on-campus event, everything was done in a nutshell in an online mode as well. So they missed, I must literally say that they missed nothing, but they enjoyed every bit of the online class too. But definitely, yes, we would have done these things in a much better and different way if it was, on campus and not online. One very special thing which we did, which put us at the pedestal where we won the India and the Asia Book of Awards, is where I technically joined Good Shepherd School when it was COVID time. So I'm technically seeing them all online, and I've never met the children one-on-one, of course, staff in small groups, but I've never met the children together in on campus in any particular phase, because it was peak COVID time and lockdown and, quarantines and things like that. So that was a time when I thought it was Children's Day and I wanted to do something different for them. So I was thinking, how do I connect? How do I reach to 4,000 students? Because for them, yes, they've heard of a principal, they've seen the principal on the screen, but physically, I have not seen them, they've not seen me. So I wanted to make some kind of a personal touch, a personal connection. So what came to my mind was about why not writing a personalized letter to all these students. So on that note, I approached the post office, because inland letters itself is sort of an extinct concept now. So we managed getting 4,000 inland letters. And with the help of a couple of teachers, I wrote 4,000 personal comments for these children, handwritten ones. And most of the comments were, like, when I say personalized, if the letter is coming to you, it's more about you and it's not a general one. So that was something which was very, very, caught attention of the children and the parents, and something which they really appreciated. And this was something where the school, as well as I, was able to do something differently. And we were recognized by the Asia and the India Book of Records for the innovative thought and concept. So that's something very different we did during COVID time, which got noticed. And there were a couple of articles and things which came in few magazines and things as well based on this. And recently too, we got a Kottayam District Best School Award, in connection to this program that we had done. And of course, a couple other things more, but yes, this remains as a highlight among, all the activities that we have done.
That was indeed really beautiful to hear, ma'am. And for a moment, I really wished I had been a student. Right now, I should have been enrolled to Good Shepherd School. That is indeed beautiful. And as a student, I've always been curious to hear from a teacher what it means to be a teacher, because the journey is a very difficult one. And I'm very glad to have heard it right from the most expertized person right in front of me. Ma'am, what are the challenges that the students and the teachers have faced post-pandemic?
Now that we are on campus, the 2 years of online system has actually the education style itself has been different, where morning you wake up, probably there is a time, there is no time, you would have had your breakfast, you may skip your breakfast, but you're in front of the screen, and at times you can say your camera is not working and you can switch off your camera, so where you may not be even well dressed, and ready for the class. So this was a kind of mode where children were in for a very long time. And the internet was always taken as a reason where they say, oh, I do not have connectivity, I'm unable to join today, my camera is not working, I'm unable to listen. So this was a phase where children are children, end of the day. So if they're interested in something, yes, they're all into it. If it is something which is not of their interest, they always take a back seat. And technically, if you think yourself as a student or me, myself as a student, we don't give importance to all of our 5 subjects, or the liking and the passion for all subjects is never the same. Subjects which they were keen, yes, they were all into it. But when they wanted to take a back seat, they could do that, in a very, very convenient way. And reasons for parents and teachers to pull them up were limited. So that sort of made a very laid back young generation, I must say, where even the smaller children, right from their kindergarten and primary phases, where even their hand grip, hand holding, the writing, all those things, that the initial formation phase is very, very important. Because if today you're able to write well, it's because some teacher has trained you 10 or 15 years back, has told you the right way to hold the pencil, the right way you need to shade, the right way you need to move forward to get the speed and the pace and things like that. But these children have obviously missed on all these things. So if you look at the junior classes, even in grade 1, probably the first phase is getting them set for a regular routine schooling. That's a real challenge which the teachers are facing now, because because there is a set curriculum every year that is being expected, and parents of course expect the curriculum or whatever the textbook that is being followed to be completed as well. Not technically on the basics so much, probably because they want to see the book as complete and the child is filled with a lot of knowledge. But that kind of a pace and a run is not possible in any of the classes, because right from basics need to be taught to them, whether it is a junior class on training how to write, or their toilet habits, or they are setting their regular routine, to children who are in older classes who are quite fidgety because they have never been sitting in a chair and listening, or doing things, because they have never engaged themselves 6 to 7 hours of a formal setup, because at home always the concept of taking things easy comes in. So this is a biggest challenge that teachers are facing today, to see that a child, to make the child ready for the formal schooling, that readiness which is otherwise done in junior classes, even up to the grade of 10 and 12, there are cases where we really need to sit with them, help them. And again, it's on the aspect of socializing. Schooling is not only about academics, it teaches you a lot of other things when you're in a group. But at home, unfortunately, this child is all alone, and the only other thing that he is seeing is a screen and a lot of his friends on the screen. So the socializing aspect, the concept of sharing, the lot of other things which is important for you to live in an environment is not focused there. So those are also things which they are only learning or getting used to now. So I don't think this is something which only I am or my group of teachers are facing. This is generally a global thing, because whenever I see people whom I interact with in the same education segment, it's the same story, or it's the same thing which the people have to say. So generally the problem is more or less the same around the globe, that to make the connect and to bridge that gap between online and offline, and to see that the children are on track, on the mode, is a challenge which most schools and most teachers and educators are facing today. But I think in a couple of months, children should be okay because seniors are sort of getting on track. Juniors probably need some more time because of their age, but that's something which would definitely fall in place. But I must say, all parents are happy now to send the children off to school, because 2 years they have really learned that it is not easy to keep one or two children back home 24 hours 365 days. Most parents have realized. So parents have expressed their happiness to see the children go to school, and that they have little more freer time, and the children's time is also a little more structured, because during COVID time they also didn't have any physical activity, which again makes them very dull. Obesity, health issues, a lot of things. So all those things are also now looked at and put on track, just to ensure that end of the day, our aim is to see that we pass on a child from 1 year to the other, and at the 12th grade to the outside world, a child who is well molded and ready as per their age in every way. So it's the focus is not only on academics, but it's always the overall concept where along with academics, their co-curricular activities, sports, arts, whatever they are good at, they should be able to develop that as well, including the concept of values, value system, which is very important, and confidence building, which is done usually through programs and stage performances and assemblies and things like that. So all these things were given importance on during online platform, but there were limitations. But now that they're on campus, we have tried to bring back all those things, because what they missed last 2 years, we're trying to fill that gap so that we are able to regain what a child technically needs to have when he or she is in a particular age or a phase in life.
Indeed, it was a hard time when it was online classes, but it is your positivity that I would like to cling to, ma'am, that says, yes, within a few months, everything is going to be all right. Even for seniors or juniors, it was a difficult task, and I believe it was equally difficult for all our teachers too. So, a big salute to all of them, to you as well, ma'am. So, here is what I would like to ask about the new education policy, LEP, which we may term as the new exposure policy, because it says that it's for the exposure, maximum exposure for students. How effective do you think is the NEP policy today?
If you ask me, as an educationist, what I would like to speak on that is, it's always good to have a curriculum which is kind of a standardized procedure, which is adopted by educational institutions around, at least within the country, I must say, because that is one thing which creates a different thought process for parents as the children get into older classes of their age. So I think it's not about the NEP per se, but I'm for the concept of standardizing things, because standardization is very, very important. Of course, every concept, everything new that comes has its plus and minus. There will be challenges initially that you would face. There would be certain things you may have to alter as you take things forward, because these are things which are designed looking at the larger perspective, but the same jacket may not fit for everyone. So you may have to alter things here and there based on locality, based on the child's need and things like that. But I am for standardization, because I feel that is something which is very, very important to take things forward. So I'm irrespective of NEP, I'm definitely for the concept of having a standard or standardized curriculum which would be followed in the country in total, because that is only going to benefit every student. Because right now, certain things are there which would help certain community, certain students, certain children in certain segments of the society. So standardization is something which would bring a uniqueness or a kind of standard pattern which would benefit everyone. So I'm personally a person who feels that you have a policy that should stay and stick on to every individual in the same way. And I try to do that. And I've been doing that over my years as a teacher as well. I implement a policy in school. I ensure that it is the same, for that age level or whatever, we call the segments. So on that note, I'm definitely for standardization of education segment, to ensure that whatever is a drawback or whatever is a benefit, it is something which reaches the entire student community in total.
Indeed, standardized education policy is beneficial for students, and that is very nice to hear. I don't have that benefit because I'm benefited by education, but I am not coming under the NEP policy. So I was very curious to hear more about it from you, ma'am. Is education becoming more competitive? Sometimes it is said opportunities are plenty that we can choose our future according to our passion. What do you say about the changing time?
My policy on this is yes, education is changing because the children, which is, I mean, the people you are interacting with or for whom you are doing this, there is a big change in them. As I told you in my initial thing, the kind of students I taught 20 years back is not the kind of students, even in the lower segment, lower classes, they're not the same. There is a big change right from K1 to 12 standards. So that's a change in students that's there. I'm a person who believes in respecting each one's thoughts because I myself was a person like that, where I had, even those days, I had my own decisions. I had my own thoughts about things, and I was not a person who would get, because somebody has pushed me that I would do that. I'm not a person like that. So I completely understand when today's generation children also say in the same way. But always what I tell the parents and the students is allow them to go by the passion which they feel is the best suited for them. And what I tell the children is, once you decide what you want to do, you have to be sure that that is your decision. It should not be peer pressure, or it should not be influenced by somebody. You decided to do that. And whatever you choose finally, whatever it is, you be accountable for it. That's what is very important. It's not about the job you do or what kind of job you do. Irrespective of what you do, the only line I always mention to all my students, including my own, is be the best in that. Whatever you may be the best in that. It really doesn't matter whether you're getting into a job in X, Y, or Z platform. That's not what is important. But wherever you are, be a shining star. So that is what is very, very important. What I tell the parents is, if you allow the child to pursue his or her dream, you can make him or her accountable for the decision they have taken. Because otherwise, I've heard a lot of children saying, I did not perform, ma'am, because I did this for my parents. They were the ones who pushed me into it, and hence I did it. So it is not that with their heart that they're doing. And probably it's only reasons, but they always like to find that as a reason for non-performance. So if you decide something on your own, there's no one to complain. There's nothing to lean back. It's your decision, and that you have to come up your way, hook or by crook. You have to work hard and you have to get there. And I tell parents that is what is most important, because how long can a parent push the child? End of the day, it is about him and her. Once they reach a particular age level, respect them, but push them to perform and make them accountable for their decision, and see that whatever they have decided, they are on the right track, and give the required tips as experienced people what we can do. After which, I think it is very important that we respect their decision. And as parents and teachers, in a couple of years, you generally know how the child is, and whether this thought and decision is something which is right and which is good for the child to move forward. That's your age and experience will help you to identify over over a couple of years. So in most cases, I have seen children who decide to do on their own. Of course, there is a struggle at the beginning, because life is never a bed of roses. There is ups and downs everywhere. But when it is their own thought process, though it's challenging, they work harder to get there. And in most cases, I've seen the children have only succeeded, and that they're doing well. So as a person in education field, and as a parent myself, I've always allowed children, or rather I've always encouraged children to have their own thoughts and go by their passion. Because rather than doing something which you do not like, you go by your passion, you enjoy doing it. It no more becomes a burden for you. You're liking every bit, and you work better to, excel in that area. And as a parent too, that's been my thought process and decision as well.
Making our own choices and being the best at it. That was indeed wonderful, ma'am. And I think today, from a compelled choice making society, we have shifted to a self choice making. And as you rightly stated, there is positive results at the end of all the hard efforts. Ma'am, I would like to also ask you, what is your advice to the teaching faculty and the students, as our audience are waiting to hear from you?
Something what I would tell the teacher is, today's teacher, I must say, the first meeting when I had this time with the teachers, this is what I told them, that teacher is not to come and explain the day-to-day topics, because a smart student can easily get it from the Google, can get it from any platform that's available today. Teacher has multiple roles where she or he is a mentor. You have to be a mother for them. You have to be their friend. You have to be their counselor. So it's technically multiple roles you have to do if you need to be an accepted teacher by students today. There's no point in a teacher having the rigid 1980 thoughts in them, because end of the day, they are training children for tomorrow's generation, who will be out there in 10 or 12 years. So you should technically foresee the tomorrow, because you're training the tomorrow. So no point talking about yesterday. So we need to update and upgrade ourselves. We need to be very friendly with them. You need to be approachable too. You need to give them the time and space. And of course, if a teacher is knowledgeable enough in his or her subject, she or he is undoubtedly accepted by the students. But that is not the key thing alone. Along with your knowledge, it's important that you have to be their friend and you have to be with them. They have to have that feeling that, yes, this teacher is approachable and I can open up and she understands me or he understands me. Because that is what even I have learned myself being a teacher. Even when I was teaching, the senior classes, grade 11 and 12, I've never thought myself as extraordinary when it comes to knowledge in my subject. What I had to know is all what I knew. But the connect what I made with my children was something which helped them to excel and perform extremely well in their board examinations, because, they technically did everything for me, just because if they don't do, I would be upset and sad about it. So that was the connect which I had when I was a teacher per se, with the class. And as you move into administrative roles, you miss that, because the entire group becomes your children. And when you have your just 30 and 40, the connect is much more, and you're able to connect much better. So this is what I have to tell every teacher, that you need to change, or you need to have different thoughts in your mind, and you have to do things in a way that you would do for your own child. Think yourself as a mother, think yourself as a father. What is it that you would do for your child? And every parent actually brings his or her child, which is very, very precious to them, with a lot of hopes and aspirations. So that's something which every teacher should keep in mind. It is their dream that has been entrusted in your hands. So you should be able to work the best possible way for them, to take them to the next level, whichever you can at your level. So that's what I would tell every teacher, that, do that multiple roles. You will see that the children accept you as a teacher much more than a firm, rigid kind of a teacher, which probably is the thought in the minds of many. So being a friendly teacher with a good, positive environment is what would make the learning process much faster and better. And you're reaching your destination and your goal also, in a faster pace. And I would also say with great satisfaction, because the most satisfying moment for every teacher is when his or her child comes back and tells them, of certain moments which were really precious when, he or she was in that class. So that is what really makes the day of a teacher.
It's very true, ma'am. Having an approachable teacher keeps all of us so mindfully happy and positive that we don't fear their presence in our classroom. I would like to thank you very much, ma'am, for your presence and taking time to spend for this session in the Global TV series. It was a great experience for me personally, and I'm sure that everybody in this fraternity will gain a lot. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you very much for having me. And I had a good time being with the Global TV as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.